Welcome, everybody. I'm Mark Hart with System Basketball Zoomcast. Today's edition, we'll have Coach Brant Minor of Pacific University of Oregon. We'll be diving into his roles and responsibilities for the Boxers program and talk a little bit about recruiting and what's going on with his company, Max Hoops. So stay tuned. Well, thanks, Coach Minor, for joining me today on System Zoomcast. Can you briefly tell us about how you got into college coaching, your journey?
Absolutely. Well, first off, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on. I know you've had some big name guests, so I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about my experience with system basketball and just my kind of basketball journey itself. So started at a young age. My brother's 5 years older than I am. So when he started playing, I was in the gym with him, and he taught me a lot about the game. My brother, um, I had to learn to be tough because he kind of picked on me a little bit out in this outside at our house, and I feel like going against him made me a lot better. So had a good high school career at Grants Pass High School, Southern Oregon. Sophomore year, first team all conference. Our team won the conference championship and ended up getting the opportunity to play in 3 state tournaments in Portland. So had a great opportunities in high school to play with great teammates, won a lot of games. Our home court was packed every game. We lost 3 games in 3 years at Grants Pass High School. Some of my best friends, guys that were in my wedding, were my teammates. And I was getting mildly recruited my senior year, smaller schools, 2-year schools, smaller NAIA schools. And I decided I wanted to go to the University of Portland. And that was just for an entrepreneurial program that they have there. And it was really, they gave me a really good financial aid package to go there because of my academics, community service that I had done. I was class president of my high school for all 4 years. So I was involved in a lot. So they gave me a lot of money to go. And then I had a really good state tournament my senior year. We won 3 games. And the coaches at University of Portland had heard that I was going to go to school there, and they invited me to walk on. Tal Wold, who was an assistant at Warner Pacific, who was recruiting me when I decided to go to University of Portland, he told me that his brother was an assistant. So I got to walk on at the Division I level as a 6'2" player who was I worked really hard. I joked that I worked really hard, Mark, to be the worst player. And and most people think if you work hard, you're going to be one of the best players. But I had to work really hard just to have my spot on the team. And I now, as a coach, understand as a walk-on, when you get a walk-on, they need to help the team GPA. They need to be zero risk off the floor. They need to win the sprints and be the hardest worker. The rest of it, if they're not I wasn't a great shooter. So buckets I used to get in high school would get beat in college because there were 7-footers, right?
Yeah.
Compared to the high school where I'm going up against 6'4", 6'5" posts. So it was a great opportunity for me. Played in 21 games, Mark, and I didn't have a turnover, which I'm really proud of. I
New
mean,
record that can only be
that's
tied.
a national record.
That can only ever be tied.
Right? Never be broken. John Stockton's assist record might be broken. No, I knew my role. That's the thing I tell kids, tell coaches. I knew my role. If I turned it over, I was coming right back out. And I knew that I had to bring energy on the bench. I knew I wasn't as good as Pooh Jeter. Pooh Jeter is playing today, overseas elite. He's
Yes.
playing probably right now in the
For the
basketball
for the
tournament.
TBT. Yep.
Right? He's still playing, and I'm not playing professionally anymore. He's still getting a paycheck in China. But I knew I wasn't as good as him, so I knew I needed to share the ball, take charges. I played really hard is what my first game I got in, I played 5 minutes. I had 7 rebounds. I took a charge. I had a steal. I had an assist, highly productive minutes. And that was just because I knew my role. If I was going to be in the game, I had to play really hard and do all the little things, because I tell kids it's a production versus problem scale. If you're more problems than you are production, we don't need you, right? So if you're not producing a lot on the floor as a walk-on, you can't be any problems off the floor. So I knew I had to take care of business in the classroom. I had to do all those little things just to get a jersey. And it was usually too big, but I had to do everything right just to get a uniform.
Well, were you
And
number like 55?
I was not. 55 was actually one of our best players. Double nickel, Casey Franson. Shout out, Casey
Oh, my
Franson.
bad. 55's Jason Williams, white chocolate. So
Yeah, white chocolate. So Casey was white chocolate pretty much. But I got number 3. So people, I'd always check into the game, and they're like, shooter, shooter, shooter. As the 6'2" guy, they just judged me because I'm wearing number 3. So usually I could get a little lift fake, get by him, but then that's when Matt Short, the 7-footer from Oregon, was just waiting, right? So
yep.
changed my game in college. It was too bad I didn't get more minutes in college, because I got a lot bigger and stronger, and that's helped me now understanding that as a recruiter. I was way better as a 20-year-old sitting the bench at Portland than I was as an 18-year-old at Grants Pass High School.
Got it.
So I got through. I did 2 years. I played 2 years of Division I college basketball without a turnover. And then my junior year, I got involved in the entrepreneurial program. We went to China, New York, Washington, D.C., and had an incredible opportunity to travel around the world, literally, learning from business owners and businessmen and women and all over. So, and I was a resident assistant in the dorm, which paid for all my housing. As a walk-on, I was the one guy on the team that wasn't getting housing, books, tuition, which at Portland's a lot. That's $60,000 scholarship. And as a walk-on, I'm the hardest working kid on the team, getting $0. But I was an RA, so I decided I didn't play my junior or senior year at Portland. Still graduated from a great school, and then got kind of right into coaching after that. I was at my senior year. I got to help our women's program at Portland in the West Coast Conference. Jim Sollers had been there 26 years and gave me the opportunity to just kind of guard the posts in practice and learn from him and his staff, who's now doing big things all over. His coaching trees pretty solid. So I did that, and then I worked for a basketball organization in Spokane for a year, then Warner Pacific for a year, and then I had the opportunity to go back close to where I grew up at Southern Oregon University. So Mark, I was at Southern Oregon for 5 years, which is an NAIA school, so we had scholarship money. So it was a lot different than recruiting Division III. So the Division III recruiting is a lot different. So I was NAIA at Southern Oregon, and for 5 years I got to recruit, and I loved the NAIA level. It's a lot more fun coaching when you're coaching kids that you've recruited. Mm-hmm. My first year at Southern Oregon, I didn't know any of the kids on the team. I hadn't recruited a single one of them. And so it's hard to get that rapport with a kid if you haven't spent time in their living room when they're in high school with their parents, right? So, and we were 9th out of 10 in the Cascade Conference, and it just wasn't much fun. But I was out on the road recruiting a lot that first year, and we had the first 2 kids we brought in, Jeff Bush and Kyle Tedder. Unbelievable kids, helped our team GPA. And every time Jeff dimed up Kyle, their senior year was a new school record for assists in a college career and 3-pointers made in a college career. So those kids believed in me and our program, because it's harder to recruit when you're not winning. It's hard to believe in things you can't see. It's faith, right? So for me to say as the coach, oh, we're really good, it's similar to what I'm saying now at Pacific, is if you come here, we will be good. And those kids listened to me, and their freshman year, they kind of got knocked around a little bit. They were a little, people were like, why don't you well, they stepped in, they made buckets, took care of the ball. And then by the time they were seniors, so we went from ninth my first year down there to seventh to fifth to third to my last season. 5 years later, we were ranked number 2 in the country most of the year. We were 13-1 to start, and we had a 3.52 team grade point average.
Wow.
College men was the highest in the country that year. And so we got the right kids, and they came in my last year. 15 of the 16 kids in that program played their freshman year at Southern, and 14 of the 16 were from Oregon. So we really went after the best kids in the state, and we got fortunate with some kids that came back. Eric Thompson pitched 5 years for the Dodgers, and then decided he wanted to hang him up and come back and play college basketball. And Eric was 6'7", 240 as a freshman, 23-year-old freshman. That was a bucket, Mark. Got 47% from the three and 86 from the line on the season. Gave us 38 3 times in league. And 6'7", and a pro athlete. And the Dodgers were paying for his school, so he didn't cost us scholarship money. So talk about like the unicorn recruit, right? 4-time All-American that doesn't cost you any scholarship money at the NAIA level. Thank you, Eric Thompson, if you're listening to this. But we had great kids. Tim Weber came in. He played on the summer team that I played in, or that I ran. He played on my team that I coached, and came in to a senior year, was skinny, came into Southern, skinny, lanky, 6'7" kid, grew into second team All-American his senior year, and 8.5 assists a game, had 4 triple doubles. Just the type of kid that you want in your program. And again, he believed me when I said, we'll be good if you come here. And we were rewarded with national championship trips to the national tournament, and a lot of wins, but a lot of memories. And that's my why, is the memories and the relationships. And now seeing these kids get married and be husbands and fathers, right? I feel like I've heard you, and I think that's, I mean, am I a good coach? Ask me 10 years from now, right? When these kids are out in the real world, that's when I'll know if I'm a good coach. Obviously, I want to win too, but the relationships and the people, that's what makes this business special. So I was there for 5 years. Most of my pay was in graduate school. So when I finished my master's degree, I told those kids, hey, I'm here until you guys graduate. And then when I graduated, that was a special day, getting to take pictures with Kyle. And Tim Weber graduated in 3 years, got his master's, his 4th, the 6'8" point guard I was talking about. And then he went and played pro in Germany for 2 years. And now he's a retired pro athlete and teaching middle school back in his hometown of Roseburg. But that was the most rewarding part of the recruiting there, was getting to see these kids develop and grow and mature and turn from kids that don't need to shave into men that are having children and being responsible for a household. Like, I love that part of it. So I spent 5 years there. And then after I finished my master's, the woman I was dating, who's now the mother of Maggie and my wife, was living in Portland. I was 4 hours away. So I decided, hey, it's time for me. I'm not going to talk her into moving to Southern Oregon for my small stipend job. So I moved back to Portland. Still, that's when I set up Max Hoops, which I think we'll touch on in a second.
Yeah.
But I ran that and didn't coach for 3 years. And then when Justin Lunt got the job, I'd known him because of Max Hoops. And I'd always just respected him and his energy and his passion and his motivation and the way his teams played. So when he got the job at Pacific, I I joined staff, and now we're going into year 3, and um, we're way more competitive year 2 than we were year 1, and we're going to be way more competitive this next season than we were this past season. And that's what we're trying to do, continuously improve a little bit, get better each day. So I know that was a little bit long, but I get excited. You can tell I
Yep.
talk too fast, but
You're
that's a
good,
little
coach.
of the journey that's gotten me through the Pacific.
So you've been coaching a while. I know you've met a lot of coaches. Who are some of the coaches that have helped form your philosophy and the way you like to teach the game?
Absolutely. I was blessed with a lot of great coaches at a young age. Steve York was Grant's past assistant coach who coached us from 3rd grade through high school. His son was the point guard on our high school teams, and he walked on at Oregon for 2 years and was a Duck. And so we actually played against each other our freshman year in college. But Steve York was a big influence. Bill Cowell was my head high school coach, really influenced me. And then I've just had the opportunity in the summers to work a lot of great camps and around the country with coaches I respect. So the summer of '08, epic summer of '08, as we call it, I was fortunate. My brother went to West Point, where Coach K went to school, and was the head coach when he got the job at Duke. So my brother was able to get me the opportunity to work Duke summer camps. So I went back. um, I had a trip planned in '08 to spend 3 weeks at Duke. And I was like, well, if I'm going to the East Coast, let's see what else I can do while I'm out there. So I was living in Spokane. A girl that I'd been coaching a little bit, doing some private lessons with, was going to play at University of Tennessee. Pretty good coach there on the women's side at the time, Pat Summitt, RIP. Um, the most influential woman probably in women's sports, at least for basketball. She's the most influential,
Yep.
won 8 national championships, the best to ever do it. And then at the time, Bruce Pearl was at Tennessee. So that same summer of '08, I spent 2 weeks learning from Pat Summitt, 2 weeks learning from Bruce Pearl, and then did 3 weeks at Duke. So those 3 coaches, just seeing them firsthand, the way they run their programs. So influential coaches in my journey, Pat Summitt, Coach K would be right up there at the top of that list. Coach K's leading with heart, beyond basketball. So to see him and read his books, there's people that hate on the guy because he probably has beat your favorite team, right? And so I just the genuine, sincere. He's a funny guy. So my brother, being an officer in the Army, was a captain at the time, and I'd practiced a little elevator pitch for if I did get to meet Coach K working his camps. And I said, hey, I'm from Grants Pass, near where Kyle Singler's from. And my brother's in the Army. He's a captain, almost a major in the Army. He went to West Point, where you went, Coach. My name's Coach Minor. Nice to meet you. Major Minor, your brother Major Minor. So there was that kind. So he chuckled about that. And then the rest of the week, every time he'd see me, hey, Coach Minor, how's it going? How's it going? Summer of '08 was also the summer that he went to China and won a gold medal.
Yep.
And then I got to come back the next summer. Hey, Coach Minor, is your brother a major? Well, actually, he is, Coach. So my brother got a book signed to Major Minor, Follow Your Heart, Mike Krzyzewski. And that year I won Christmas. My brother's a great gift giver, and we kind of compete. And he's usually one-ups me on the Christmas gifts with trips to the ACC tournament one year. I got to go to the Final Four a couple years back in Phoenix, with my brother's help. But that year, getting an autographed book to Major Minor from Coach K, pretty good gift. But the fact that Coach K has the presence and humility when he asks a question to listen to the answer. So what I learned from Coach K that's stuck with me and hopefully sticks with me is the presence. It wasn't like when he asked me, hey, what's your name? What are you doing or how'd you get to work my camps? It wasn't like he grabs his phone and is like, well, I wonder what LeBron's doing, or where's Kobe. He actually listened and found it humorous that my brother was major minor, right? So I have nothing but good things to say about Coach K. His staff always treated me great. I've been back 9 summers now to Durham to coach at his camps and spend time around excellence and greatness and a tradition of we don't cut corners. We on off the floor, we're going to recruit the best we can that fits our culture and our program. And it happens to be that they've had some really good players go through there and win 5 national championships. And it doesn't go unnoticed, the little things that they do, the details, the preparation, all the things that they teach. It shows why he's won, I don't know, over 1,100 games, getting close to probably 1,200 games. Just so coaches I've learned from, Pat Summitt, Coach K, my high school coaches were great. Then now moving in, I spent 5 years with Coach Mack at SOU. I learned a lot about offense, X's and O's. His detail and preparation is meticulous, and he's very disciplined. And I learned a lot about breaking down films. This is before Synergy, so I was cutting it up and entering in all the stuff and doing it all on our own. This is like 2009, so it's just like it gave us a big advantage that we were able to start doing that type of stuff. But it was a lot of labor intensive work as a young coach that I loved most of the time. But when it was 10 hours to break down one film and then we're having to get ready for the next game. But I love the working at the small college level because you get to do a lot. You're involved in a lot of things. And so that's what's been great. And then now Justin Lunt at Pacific, I've learned so much about leadership and motivation and passion and work ethic. The guy's got a motor. You've seen it. He I don't know if he sleeps. I've seen him eat twice. Thanksgiving dinner at Devin's house. He had some food, but he's a machine, man. He's got a motor. He goes. Unfortunately, Peterson's with him on the road, and so I'm not having to deal with the 3 a.m. What do you think about this? I think I want to sleep right now. But so fortunately, but I don't know if he sleeps. I've never seen him sleep, but I love working for him. I think the stuff that I've picked up from him and now the system has been incredible. And I feel like I'm a much better coach now because of Coach Lunt.
Well, real quick before we shift gears, I've had those people are on my list. I had the pleasure to see Pat Summitt at a Baden clinic in Vegas. The 12, what's it, her Daily Dozen?
Daily Dozen.
And then being a fanboy of the Nike clinics, only one coach I've ever went up to and asked for like a picture and did the autograph, waited in line, and that was Coach K. And my two favorite college basketball players of all time, Christian Laettner and Bobby Hurley. So I'm a Duke boy, so you don't have to apologize to me about whether you hate Coach K or not. I love me some Dukies. So
I love it. That's great. I knew I liked you. I knew you had good taste.
So, Coach, I've asked this to every person. Everybody has a different answer. How do you define system basketball?
Crazy, awesome, and intense, relentless pressure. Relentless pressure for 40 minutes. We're going to wear you down, whether you're playing 9, 10 guys or you're stretching your bench. We're going to pressure you. There's never going to be an easy pass. There's never going to be an easy pass for 40 minutes. And you're going to wear out. And we might be down at half, but we're going to come back and beat you in the last 8 minutes of the game because you're not used to playing at the tempo that we play at. You can't simulate what you're going to see in practice against us. So I love the fact that we worry about what we do is they try to beat us, we try to beat us. So they're spending their week preparing for the boxers, and not having we're worrying about our system and us getting better. So I know it's kind of a general system statement, but I think that the pressure is what gets teams, and just the pace is too much for teams, and they have to change what they do to play us, and we do the same thing. Obviously there's adjustments and tweaks, and we do scout as coaches, but we don't have to overwhelm our players with a 16-page scout, because teams aren't going to get to run their plays against us. And so teams spend most of their preparation on their plays that they never get to run, but then now the week of, they're having to change what they do to try to combat for our style. And so I think that, and I know they're putting in presses because they're calling them boxer, right? There's Pacific press break, right? So they've spent that week getting ready for us. And so I would say that it's just the up tempo. What just happened is something that I just think it's hard to explain unless you know about system ball. So when I talk to kids, oh, we do the same thing. Not so not quite, but it is just crazy. I love getting to coach it. I would have loved to get to play it. I think it would have played into my strengths incredibly well, but it is something that until you see it, it is hard to describe.
So I have an idea what your role is as an assistant at Pacific. One of them's you're one of the energy guys. I could tell by the interview so far that you bring the heat. I can't imagine, Coach, that you have much on Lund, even though he turned his virtual background off, got in a defensive stance in his room without shoes on when he did his clinic. So that was pretty epic. He was when he did
I'm about to take a charge. I got to one up him. He's in a defensive stand. I'm
yes,
taking a charge here.
he was
Let's
showing
go.
he was using a chair to demonstrate how you guys would deny and how you guys would play up the line. It was pretty epic. So what are your roles at Pacific University as an assistant? What do you do?
Try to make Coach Lunch's job easier.
Good answer.
Do what's needed. I'm fortunate to do the little things. I I get to do a lot of the recruiting, so that he trusts that I'm picking kids that will fit, and then spend a lot of time Zoom. But I get the meals on the road. I'll do whatever it takes to try to make, because I know he's got a lot of stuff going on as the head coach that I don't have to worry about as the assistant, and everything is, you can't delegate the responsibility, but you can delegate. So we're trying to, Peterson and I are trying to do what we can, whether that's meals on the road or preparing subcharts. So doing the substitutions, keeping the chart, trying to get the right guys in, adjusting if there's fouls, if somebody's just not bringing it, subbing people in. So I do some of that, and then, like I said, just trying to help out wherever. Like you said, the energy, that's a big part of it. Is the team camaraderie is huge in the system. You have to get buy-in, and so because I do believe in it so much, I think people are like, well, if he believes it, maybe I can believe it. And so I think the buy-in and trying to get the team, because if you have one or two bad apples, the whole bunch is going south. And if you have everybody in the boat rowing, but you got a couple of people in the back drilling holes, you're going to be in trouble. So trying to get everybody bought in is something that can either make or break this style of basketball.
Sweet. So, since you're one of the main recruiters, there's a stigma of system basketball, and some people played in high school, not a lot of teams. But I'm hearing it, I'm moving towards it and running it. And one of the misconceptions that I hear is, oh, your players are only good because they play that style of basketball. They can't play at the college level. The system made them as good as they are. Since you're recruiting and you play it, can you maybe touch about your feelings of those statements that you've probably heard as well?
I disagree. I think if you're able to play in the system, you're going to get more opportunity to have the ball in your hands, to play the game, more possessions, more opportunity. If you're running, I mean, the worst is high school teams that run zone, a lot of zone, and just stand in a zone. And that's not going to help me evaluate a kid. So if you want to talk about hurting a kid's chance of being recruited, I think the furthest thing from the truth is that the system is going to hurt them. If a kid is running and shooting and plays with intense amounts of energy, that can roll in my program. If I'm running, no matter what system I'm running, if a kid busts his rear and is willing to play extremely hard and they can shoot it at a quick pace, then if they're only good because of the style of play, well, they're still good, and I'm going to try to utilize that in my system. If I'm a good coach, if I got a kid that can streak the lane and catch and shoot at a fairly high clip, I'm going to try to implement that into my style of play. So maybe it's because I'm more not stubborn in the style that I want to play. If I were in a different style, I feel like as a coach, I'd adapt to what I have instead of trying to recruit kids that just fit necessarily. I'm going to try to get the best players I can that buy into the system and the culture that we're running, and then decide what to play. And so I think there's coaches that feel like if I run that, my kid's not going to get recruited. I don't think that's true at all. I think it gives them more chance to show what they can do. I would say that their numbers, if they're scoring, they might be more than they would be in a regular system, and that's hard to argue, which I don't think is necessary. So what that the kid's getting 14 rebounds a game? You don't think you would get 9 or 10 if you're playing a regular style? But that's something that bothers me too. What's regular? This is foreign. This is not, and maybe this is another question we're going to touch on, but yeah, I think there's lots of ways to skin the cat, and I think we're doing it about the best as anybody.
So this could be for you and or Coach Peterson. Coach Peterson's joining us. He popped on a little while ago. He's the assistant coach at Pacific as well. Um, what are you guys
Oh,
looking for when you're?
I have the best lunch story that Coach Minor was talking about with him not sleeping. Our first road trip, we're going to SoCal. And so we left at like 5 a.m. maybe, or maybe it was 4:30 a.m. to get to the airport. So I know I was up at 3:30 a.m. that day. So go to the bus, fly into SoCal. We have practice. Oh, so it's like 9:30, and me and him are rooming together. And I'm laying there, and we're supposed to do room checks too at like, I don't know if it was 11 or 12, I can't remember. And I'm just laying in bed, like just gassed. He's like, "Are you tired?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been up since 3:30 in the morning." He goes, "Oh, well, we'll have Coach Minor do bed checks. Let me text him." So he texts Coach Minor, and anyway, I fall asleep. At like 12:30 in the morning, our phone goes off. And so I wake up and our lights are still on, the TV is still on, and he answers it. But again, we're up at 3:30. It's now 12:30 a.m. and he's still awake with the TV and that. So then I fall right back asleep. A little bit later, now that the lights are off and all that, I hear him getting up and rumbling around. And again, I'm like, "Man, it's early. What's he doing?" I just kind of went back to sleep. So I fell back asleep. A little bit later, same thing. I can hear him with his laptop on the bed next to me, and I can just hear him doing stuff. I'm like, I gotta see what time this is. It's ridiculous, you know? So I roll over. It's 5:30 in the morning, and he's up working on his laptop, doing something for film or something. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, we were up at 3:30. He clearly went to bed after 12:30 because that's when the phone went off. And yet when I woke up, it was 5:30, so he was up even before that. was insane.
And I fell asleep at like 10, and I was like, I was out so cold that there was no way I was waking up to do the bed checks.
So, so you guys both do a little bit of the recruiting. Brant does a little bit more than Matt. Matt's the offensive genius behind the Pacific machine. So, what are you guys looking for when you're recruiting for your style of play? Is it different than if you were a traditional coach? Are you looking for specific qualities or abilities?
I'm looking for kids that are coachable because what we do is so unique. I need coaches or kids that are coachable, that are good teammates, that play extremely hard, that are competitors, that are resilient. So coachable, you have to be coachable because what we do is different than what they've done 98% of team players have done. But if they're coachable, then we can move on. If they're not a good teammate, they're not going to make it in the system. If they're always worried about themselves, they're not going to make it in our style of play. If they're not able to hold their teammates accountable, and if they're selfless, they have to be selfless, and they have to not only be willing to be accountable for their own actions, they have to be willing to step up and be tough enough to not only touch the line themselves, make sure everybody touches the line. And that kind of ties in with being a competitor. And everybody's talking about the Jordan documentary about what a competitor he was. And that's what he did. He held everybody to the highest level of the highest standard possible. And so I want kids that are competitors and want to win, but still are a good enough teammate that even if they don't play well and we do win, they're not going to be down on themselves, just because didn't play well. I want people that have the ultimate goal of being a great teammate and winning. And then in our style, you have to be resilient because you're going to be down. You have to have resiliency. You're going to be behind. You're going to get dunked on a few times in a row. You're going to start to feel like, what are we doing? But you have to have that next play speed, next play mentality. You have to have that because how you handle adversity says a lot. So when I'm out recruiting, I've had kids that don't have a great game and they pout. That really hurts their chances of me recruiting them. I've had kids that don't shoot very well, but they're still being a leader. They're still being positive. They're still upbeat. Then after the game, they thank me. They look me in the eye. They respect their mom and dad. That kid's going up my list, even if they did miss a few shots during the game. But if a kid, because knowing your role is essential for success. If you don't know, accept, and then excel at your role is going to shrink. And so I think there's three things: know it, accept it, and then excel at it. Then it'll possibly grow. But if you don't, and that's where I like to see a kid maybe play a game where their team gets beat. Obviously not many games or all their games. I don't want to see a kid getting his team beat, but seeing how they handle that adversity, because it's easy to be a good teammate when you're winning. It's easy to be a good teammate when everything's going your way. But how do you handle adversity and how do you handle tough situations says a lot about you and your character. And that's where when recruiting, I'm trying to find out everything I can about this kid because it's risky for us to recruit. If I recruit a kid and he goes out and shoplifts on our road trip or cheats on tests or worse, like hits his girlfriend, that's our jobs, right? That's our livelihood that's at risk. And so I want to scroll through all of his social media. I want to see what he's liking, what he's tweeting, what he's regramming. I want to see as much as I can. I want to talk to the principal. I want to talk to the counselor. I want to talk to the custodian, right? Like I mentioned Kyle Tedder earlier, an all-time three-point record holder at Southern Oregon, had a referral sophomore year. I went and talked to the teacher to see how he handled it and what it was about. And well, he's really competitive and we're playing Jeopardy and he said something he shouldn't have said to a girl in the class. And so I had to give him a referral, but he apologized. He handled it like a man. He's one of my favorite kids I've ever taught, but I just couldn't not. And I was like, okay, so it didn't cross him off my list. And obviously we kept recruiting him. And like I said, spoiler alert, he was a really good player. And so, but I did my research. I wanted to find out. And that's something kids don't know is that we're not just going to ask your basketball coach. I'm going to ask the custodian or the janitor what type of kid it is, because that says a lot about their character. And I have to recruit high character kids. And I haven't mentioned anything about the style of play, right? Like obviously it's a bonus if they can really shoot it, and they're really long, and they can really run, and they play. Those are things that I like, but what I love is high character kids that are coachable, great teammates with resiliency, that work their tail off, right? That's what is more important to me than any skill, because we can teach kids that they're coachable the way that we play. So, I mean, but if I was at a scholarship level school, not recruiting into the system, it'd be a lot different. So when I was at Southern, I'd recruit 5 or 6 kids a year. Now I'm having to recruit a whole lot more, obviously, because it's this more specific kid, but I was only recruiting a small number, but I was really making sure I was at all those kids' games, talking to them daily, making sure, and then we could offer to pay for their school. So obviously it's going to be a lot different than where you don't have the scholarship money. Rambling. I'm rambling. I just get excited talking about it. I apologize, Mark. I know
all right.
Peterson can.
It's my joke. My joke, and I repeat this on every Zoomcast, is the system is supposed to be so simple. Run, press, trap, sub, repeat, shoot the ball in 12 seconds. But every question that people ask about it gets answered like in 5 minutes.
It is a lot longer, right? Yeah.
So
I need to start coaching. That's something I'm working on. Coaching more in like bullet points.
One word answers. Yes. Yeah. No. Huh.
Yes.
So you're out on the recruiting trail and you're recruiting kids, and obviously you're sitting down with their parents as well. What are some of the misconceptions you're hearing when you're talking to them about recruiting? Because I assume the style of your play gets brought up when you're recruiting.
Absolutely. That is something, and we're very upfront with recruits about how we play, because there is some kids, less than you might think, that don't like the style of play. There's parents that are a little leery of it because they think it might be a gimmick or a sideshow, or just trying to do it to set records and gimmicks and have one kid shoot all the time. And no, that's not one kid's going to shoot all the time unless he's a way better shooter, and we think that's going to give us the best chance of making a bucket. But it's not to just score points and set records, it's to win games. And if we get the right kids on the bus and everybody in the right seats going in the right direction, we're going to win a lot of games. No doubt in my mind. I wouldn't have joined the staff at Pacific to be losing. I want to win, and I think this is what the style of play is going to help us win a lot of basketball games in the next few years. And so if I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be saying it. I also wouldn't have joined this system team if I didn't believe in it. So I think the misconceptions, lots of times it's more the parents, because the kids are like, wow, they like it. Some of them are a little, well, you only played a minute. What if I need to get in a rhythm? And then they see it and they're like, wow, I think I could buy into that. And the team energy on the bench and everyone's engaged because they're only coming out for a couple minutes, and you get to play extremely hard. You get to play free. You get to be aggressive. You get to be tenacious, and you get to shoot a lot or rebound a lot or take a lot of charges or buy into your role, be really good at what you do, and we're going to win a lot of games. And so I think just getting kids to see that it is unique, and I think it's important to be uncommon. It's easy to do what everybody else is doing. And that's the thing, that it takes a special kid to buy in, because there's times people are yelling, what are you doing? Quit shooting. Why do you keep getting dunked on? And that's our fans, Mark.
Wow.
Right? Like not the other teams, like, yeah, let's go. We keep getting dunks and they're fired up. So that's where you have to have a resilient mindset of, it's not about right here, right now. It's about the end of the game when your best players played 34 minutes and ours has played 18, and we're fresh and we're going to beat you down the stretch because you're gassed. And yeah, you guys spent all that energy because you were celebrating early in the game, where we kept focused. We kept doing what we do, and you wore out and we beat you down the stretch. And so, again, sorry, the 5-minute answer on a short question, but
So, so maybe this is a little bit for both of you. How do you guys at Pacific differ from? And I'll just take the men's side of it. The three of you are kind of labeled as really the only system teams, but you guys, if you talk to a system purist, are probably more considered hybridish, not traditionalish system. How do you guys differ than Greenville and Grinnell? What do you think is the difference?
Matt can answer that a little bit, probably more in depth. But we're not just letting teams dunk on us. We're not gonna say, oh well, we didn't get a steal in the first 5 seconds, so we're just gonna let them shoot a layup. I think we definitely want steals, but I think we're a little bit more conservative in that way. Coach Peterson might want to go into a little bit more about that.
You guys play a little bit slower, correct? Would you say than traditional? The guys just not a lot slower, but just a little
No,
bit.
yeah,
Slower.
we're not trying to take a horrible shot just because it's in the first 5 seconds. We want a better look, so we're not quite as up and down maybe as a traditional system team, but we still want to shoot the first quick good shot we can get. Maybe not a great shot, but not a mediocre to poor shot just because it's a quick.
And
Go
this is
for it,
you.
Coach
This is
Peterson.
year three with you guys, right? This will be your third year.
This will be our third year.
Okay. So it's basically the recruits. Now they're juniors.
Most of them, there's a few kids that are still on the team that were here before we got the job, but most of the kids now are kids that we've recruited.
So they'd be seniors, the ones that.
Correct.
Yeah. Matt, you got anything on that? I know you guys run the ball screen that you've elaborated on. What else do you think you're different at?
We're we're more from a so there's a significant difference between Grinnell and Greenville offensively. Greenville is a lot more aggressive, and when I guess how I would term aggressive and conservative for what we do, aggressive would just be the amount of time that it takes, not necessarily that, because both teams are attacking the rim as hard as they can. They're both supposed to be doing that. But Greenville will shoot the ball quicker with potentially less quality of a look than Grinnell will. So Grinnell is a little more conservative offensively, but they both are aggressive defensively, where we're a little more different. So we're a little bit more like Grinnell offensively, with being a little more conservative, and we do get into the ball screen some. Where then we're even more different is we're much more of a traditional team defensively that just applies a lot of pressure. So we do have the system on press and stay press and off, like we do have those components to it. However, we do fall back into a little bit more of high pressure half court man-to-man defense. We aren't trapping in the front court as much as if you were to see some more of the Greenville and Grinnell style. So we're at a point where we're offensively, we're just a little more conservative, much more like Grinnell. Defensively, we're more like a traditional team that applies ultimate pressure all over the floor. So I would say that's really where the biggest difference is just how much more conservative we are defensively. We're still trying to get an early break and get shots up quickly. And we just had a presentation the other night, and we were only in our early break about I think it was last year, like 19% of the time. And we need to be in the early break a little bit more in the low 20s, and then get into our middle break, which is the pick and roll action, about another 20%, which is about usually where we're at.
How early is your early break, Matt? Like what is it, like first 8 seconds, first 10 seconds?
The early break, and what we do is just literally up through that first pass.
Okay.
So you're attacking off transition, you make the pass. If there is not an immediate shot, that person should then be immediately driving. And if he does, you're now out of that early break if he doesn't get a shot from that drive. And now we're flowing into what we call our late break or end of break, which is our dribble drive motion screening game. So really the early break is literally just that zero pass shot, one pass shot, or one pass and a drive to a shot.
Do you guys feel that teams run with you guys, or are they playing more conservative against you guys? Because watching game film, now that I've studied it, and maybe it's fair to say this, when I'm watching Greenville games, it seems like the other teams like to run with, like try to run with Greenville. And then when you watch Grinnell, some of them don't run with them because maybe Grinnell's ran it for 25 years, so the teams know not to try to run with them. Are teams running with you guys, or are they playing more? I'm sure you have a few that run, and then you have others that may even totally alternate their game plan and try to not stall it and not even play the style that they're playing, like Brant was saying, that Pacific press and all that stuff. How often do teams just abort how they play to try to beat you and not do what they're good at? Do a lot of teams do that against you guys in league or non-conference that you've seen in your guys' experience?
At Pacific, we haven't really had a team try to hold it per se on us. I know Chapman was one team who tried a couple different things against the press when we played them in the first year at UC Santa Cruz, where they would wait as long as possible to inbound the ball. So they would just let the ball sit there and bounce after a score and wait until the referee forced them to pick it up and inbounds. But other than that, teams necessarily have not tried to slow it down per se against us. Now, part of that though is our defensive design, where see what you were saying about Grinnell and Greenville is accurate. And part of the reason why teams aren't trying to slow it down against Greenville is, Greenville applies so much pressure defensively in the backcourt that they give up a lot of 3-on-1s, and it's just so much more enticing to try to get that shot early in the possession, where Grinnell is a little more conservative defensively with their press, and I'm sure part of that has to do with personnel, because Greenville's a lot more athletic than Grinnell is. The way we run our defense is because we are a little more conservative, it allows teams to be in the half court and play in the half court a little bit more. They're not facing the same, not that they're not being pressured, but they're not facing the same type of pressure against us, where it's like we either have to go score a layup if we beat the press, or we're running some different offense. They still don't necessarily run their offense against us, but they will play in half court, traditional offense a little bit more against us. So now when Coach Lump first put this in at Puget Sound in his first year, Linfield really did try to slow it down. And if you look back at those scores, and I don't remember them exactly, I think they went 1-1 against them that year. But I think their scores were in the 70s or 80s in those games, because Linfield really did try to run clock in the half court. But and they didn't do that with us at Pacific. So other than them, I don't really remember teams trying to actually, try to pull it out and say slow it down, and that's how we're going to attack. That's our defense.
Brant, since you're recruiting, what advice would you give to players about how to get recruited? You're on mute.
Be uncommon. Do the things that the other kids aren't doing. So you have to have body language that's always positive. That's next play speed. You make a mistake, next play. You do something great, next play. I think that, along with taking care of business in the classroom, obviously as a Division III school, that's hugely important. So it's a lot more likely that I'm going to watch your film if you're a 3.9 than if you're a 2.9. So make sure you're taking care of business in the classroom. Play extremely hard. No plays off. Doesn't matter who's watching. You should be the type of person that wants to compete and beat people, no matter if there's one-on-one and nobody else is in the gym or you're in a packed house. So consistency, not taking plays off, and then being uncommon in that if you send me an email that says, "Dear Coach, I want to play for your school," that's just completely generic form letter. I get form letters sometimes where they forget to even change the school name. "Dear Coach, I want to play at Linfield College." Well, then why are you emailing me as the coach at Pacific? And it's like, dude, you had one spot where you're supposed to change the name of the school and you forgot. So I reply to every email. Sometimes it's, hey, our roster's full, or hey, do you want me to refer you to the Linfield coaches, or why are you emailing me about Linfield, or, you know, but I think trying to be uncommon. I use the analogy of applying for a job at Nike. If you apply for a job at Nike, you don't just submit your resume with all the others. You have to do something to make yourself stand out. Maybe it's your resume on a pair of shoes, or your resume on a basketball, or you have to do something that's going to make yourself different than the other 15 to 20 emails that I get a day. So trying to, obviously having a good headlining that's not like, I had one that said point guard, interested, question mark. I kind of was interested, but I was like, I don't know. I want a little bit more detail before I take up too much of my time investigating this mystery.
You remembered that email, so he did a pretty good job. I'm just going to say that. So.
True. That it was a memorable one. That was uncommon, but highlight video. I had a kid send me one, charge, right off the bat. And then went into him shooting. But I was like, that shows is unique, because usually it starts out with him making a shot.
Or dunk.
Or dunk. Every kid makes every shot in their highlight video, right? So I'm looking at the other stuff. I'm watching the bench. Does the bench all stand up like, let's go, when he lets it go? Or are they kind of like, that either shows that he's a good teammate if everybody's cheering and rooting for him and likes him, or that he makes it a lot when he shoots if they're all up cheering. If they're just sitting there on the bench, they either don't think it's going in, or they're down by 30 and it's a meaningless bucket, or the kid's selfish, or it's not very common that he makes it. So I watch that. I watch body language. So kids that put in charges and dive on the floor and grit. I hate it when people put in free throws. It's like, dude, if you can't make a free throw, like, why put that in your video? Or replays or slow-mos. It's like, dude, like, that's cool to have a video like that, or having like Tupac lyrics. Like, maybe that'll get you more likes, but it's not going to get a better response from me as your college coach. So advice, like, edit what you put online, right?
Highlight tape or full game? Would you prefer a highlight tape or a full
highlight
game?
And then if I'm interested, then I'm going to request a full game or a half. I want to see a half or a full game of a kid, but I'm not going to, if I'm getting 15 emails a day, I'm not going to watch a whole game to see a kid unless they come out in the first 5 minutes. But I can tell a lot by their release, you know, and just shot and so I watch highlight videos for sure. If it's a full game, I'm unless they have really good stats and eye peeling or good GPA, I'm probably not, but NCSA does it really well. They do a great job. So I work with NCSA, partnered with them, so kids can get a discounted profile by working with me. But it's all right there. Next Collegiate Student Athlete, it has all their contacts, it has all their references, has the videos. It's just really user friendly for me as a college coach. I can sort and filter by GPA, state, position, height, GPA, SATs. So it's a really good system, I think.
Well, that leads me into my next stuff. Me and you have kind of, with COVID and stuff going on, we've kind of started podcasts and clinics, and you want to just talk about all the good things you're doing with Max Hoops and your Instagram Live and all the coaches you've been interviewing and what's new and exciting with that. It's going to be coming up.
Yeah, for sure, Mark. I appreciate you asking that, because that has been keeping me sane, because I'm definitely the type of person that loves giving people hugs and high fives, and right now it's difficult, but this has been keeping me going. I've been interviewing college coaches. Max Hoops 3 on Instagram and Twitter. I've been just talking to coaches, head coaches, assistant coaches, directors of ops, GAs, student managers, just trying to learn as much as I can, asking them about how they recruit, their culture, how they're staying connected with their teams, how they're handling all the Black Lives Matter protests and the social and the racial issues that are currently going on in our country, and getting ideas and just kind of asking questions and trying to provide some content. Max Hoops, normally we run camps and clinics and showcase events for high schoolers run by small college coaches. So that's kind of how I started Max Hoops, was kids that maybe feel they're under recruited, or the fourth or fifth guy on their high school team, or from a small town. They come to the events. I divide them into teams. They play games. They get skill sessions. They get motivational talks from current college coaches. So that's usually what we do with Max Hoops. But since I'm not able to do that this spring and summer because of COVID, I've been doing these Zoom broadcasts. I've been trying to just keep people positive and keep people working, because you got to work while you wait. You can't wait to work. You have to put in the time now, because the world's going to start spinning again. I don't know if it's in 6 months, 8 months, a year. I believe it's going to, so being ready for when it does start spinning is important. So I've been just trying to provide some content for my viewers and learn myself. So that's a good combination when you can do something to help other people that helps you. Now, if I could just find a way to make money off of it, right? That'd be the trifecta. But it's definitely been great to just talk to coaches. I also have a program, Max Hoops Helps. I'm kind of connecting kids with college coaches and mentoring and just helping them with their goals and their time management and their leadership skills. Kind of just a mentoring program that I started. And all the information for all those is on maxhoops.com. So yeah, I appreciate you asking that, because Max Hoops is something that I have been passionate about just because it does help kids.
Well, I want to thank you for coming out on today, and then Matt popping in and talking Pacific basketball with me today, and Coach Minor and Coach Peterson come to System Basketball Zooms quite frequently. System Basketball Roundtable is the whole month of July on Wednesday nights at 5 p.m. So if you guys want to come out and listen, and when you listen to this recording, Coach Peterson will be on next Friday night for the social, showing you his ball screen offense. So if you guys are interested in seeing that and his style of system offense, come join us at 6 p.m. next Friday night. Again, both of you guys, thank you guys. You guys have been great to me, Coach Lunt, all the system basketball coaches. I appreciate you guys coming on.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, Mark, thank you. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Thanks for joining us on systembasketball.com today for the System Zoomcast with Coach Minor, and thanks for Coach Peterson stopping by as well. Don't forget to follow us at System Hoops on Twitter, System Hoops on Facebook, and follow us at System Basketball on YouTube for your latest breakdown, System Zoomcast, and everything system basketball related. Hope to see you on the next clinic on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time.